Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of September 21st, 2023 of the City Council. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Most of you are here because we have some recognitions of employees as well as recognitions of volunteers for Operation Back to School. That will happen early in our meeting here. So with that, clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Hartke.
Present.
Vice Mayor Orlando.
Here.
Councilmember Encinas.
Present.
Councilmember Ellis.
Present.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Poston.
Here.
We have a quorum. Was that Councilmember Harris?
Here.
All right, thank you. Our invocation tonight will be brought by Pastor Mike Gowans from Bethel Church, and our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. You could bow your heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we gather here today in your name, seeking your guidance and wisdom as we navigate the important matters before us. As your word reminds us in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. We humbly ask that you'd fill this room with your presence, reminding us of the great responsibility we bear to our community. May our discussions be guided by love, compassion, and a genuine desire to serve the people of our city. Grant us the ability to listen attentively, understand deeply, respond wisely to the needs and concerns raised. Help us to remember that though we might have different opinions, we share a common goal, the betterment of our community. Let unity and peace prevail in our deliberations. Father, bless every individual who contributes to the well-being of our city. For those who keep it clean, to those who keep it safe, to those who shape its future, may the decisions made here be a testament to our commitment to justice, equity, and love. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Council Member. Council, this time of year when we have reduced amounts of council, we sometimes have more recognitions than that would just make it redundant or kind of not as special if we do that all in one night. So I'd like to ask Councilmember Encinas if you would join me up front. Thank you. Our first recognition tonight is for our Employees of the Year, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I am honored tonight to present to you the Employee of the Year Awards. These were nominated and voted on by their peers, making them extra special awards tonight. There are quite a few of them from all of our departments, and so I will call each of them up and we'll read a few sentences about each, and then I think we'll have everybody up front to take a group photo at the end. So we will begin in alphabetical order. Raudel Castanon from the Human Resources Department. Raudel is a team player that is very knowledgeable in his field. He works well with others and consistently delivers outstanding service. He played an integral role in upgrades to the end user system citywide, working closely with IT and the management services departments. Our next recognition is Christine Clark from the Cultural Development Department. Christine's dedication to her work at the Chandler Museum is evident in the way she cares for others, whether it be her dedication to providing great educational experience for museum visitors or her willingness to assist in any way needed. Christine's personality shines bright for all that have the pleasure of interacting with her. Our next honoree is Martin Cortez from the Community Services Department. Martin's dedication to providing the best library experience is evident in his interactions with patrons who he treats with fairness and compassion. He is knowledgeable in about all the services available to others at the library, and his dedication to serving others is inspiring. From the police department, Nathan Duncan. Detective Duncan works diligently to make Chandler a safer community in his role as a robbery homicide detective. He routinely interacts with citizens of Chandler on the worst day of their lives and engages them in an empathetic and professional manner. His dedication and commitment in the service of others has played a crucial role in enhancing the safety of Chandler. From the fire department, Val Gale. Val ensures the decisions being made are centered around those he serves. His dedication to holding up the values of the city is evident in his communication with others. Val is admired by many and leads by example with a commitment to delivering outstanding public service. From the Communications and Public Affairs Department, Jennifer Honey. Jennifer takes great pride in her work writing the monthly Cityscope newsletter and helping the team create content on a variety of topics from the budget and utility rates to transportation options. Her involvement in the employee advisory and customer connection committees reflects her spirit for Team Chandler, and her positivity for all things is evident in her kindness to others and her can-do attitude. From the Public Works and Utilities Department, Tyrell Mock. Tyrell has embraced his role as lead operator when his division was left without a lead operator recently. Tyrell's dedication, his can-do attitude, and his commitment to his team has given everyone insight to what selfless service is about and has inspired everyone to follow his lead. From the Management Services Department, Karina Meister. Whether Karina is interacting with residents to resolve billing issues or working with teammates, she is always positive and understanding in any situation. Her sense of teamwork, empathy towards residents, and her confidence in her role exemplifies Chandler's core values. From the Neighborhood Resources Department, Priscilla Quintana. Priscilla is passionate about our community, and her ability to problem solve and ask questions shows her dedication to being an advocate for our residents. Her planning and execution of programs and events ensures residents a unique community and an exceptional quality of life. Priscilla exemplifies commitment to service and her community. From the Law Department, Danielle Ruiz. Danielle is a dedicated, efficient, and hardworking and does not shy away from a challenge. Her innovative ways of streamlining processes have resulted in a more efficient environment. Her dedication to the success of her entire team is truly phenomenal. From the Development Services Department, Nick Rosito. Through Nick's dedicated service to the residents of Chandler, he has obtained 28 building code certifications and has become a mentor to others in the department. His high-quality customer service he provides with his ability to offer a solution-based problem solving is a win-win for all parties. And finally, from the Information Technology Department, Wes Thompson. Wes has shown outstanding dedication to the city and his coworkers by owning the problem and offering whatever assistance is available until a job is completed. He works well with others to find solutions quickly. Wes is a dedicated employee and recognizes the impact his recommendations make to the overall infrastructure. Mayor and Council, that is our last honoree tonight. I'd like to recognize and thank all of our winners as well as all of those that were nominated.
Thank you all. Good job.
Our second recognition today has to do with Operation Back to School. If I could have Jane Anderson, the president of For Our City Chandler Board, or the chair, and present to us Operation Back to School, which happened in July, introduce our event sponsors, and we'll take a group photo. Is Jane here? There you are. Come on up.
Here? Right here? All right. Wonderful. We are so excited to just present the results of Operation Back to School. This was our 10th annual event. And as we like to call it, it is the community event of the summer. It's not only a community event because people step forward and say, we would like to have some help, but we also have a coinciding amount of citizens who come forward and say, we are here to serve. And so we saw that in droves this year. We handed out over 2,500 backpacks. We had 643 uniforms. In the past, we've given out about 30 haircuts. This year, 165, which was amazing to have these 20 barbers come out the Saturday before school and give up their time. We had about 700 pairs of shoes and a total number of volunteer hours over 1,000. So if we monetize that, we're looking at a donation to the community from our citizens to our other citizens of about $120,000. So we are so proud of our that they do. We recognize that in Chandler, we know that if we can turn and figure out what resources we have, that the solutions are right within our community. And so For Our City, Chandler is so happy to try to bring people together to make those solutions happen. We had, in that spirit, so many people involved in our effort. I'm just going to read off a few of the organizations, and when I'm done, all of you guys could come forward for a picture. We had Chandler Police, Chandler Fire, Compass Christian Church, CUSD Nutrition, Sticks Figures Boutique, Ascend, Just Serve, Chandler Housing Youth Program, Chandler Boys and Girls Club, CUSD, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Blue Cross Blue Shield, the Shop at Lefties, Chandler Care Center, and Edwards Vacuum, in addition to literally about 40 other people who donated time or monetary gifts. We're so proud to be a part of Operation Back to School and so proud to see our community come together. Thanks so much.
So all the names called forward, as well as any of the board members from Far City, if you guys would also come up for a photo.
Cece. Next time the one in the back saying he's here and present as the council member check in, so he can make some noise for himself.
We want to know he's here.
Yeah, come on, Serena.
He always jump in. One, two. Mayor said we always jump in.
He's the king of that. He's the king of photo.
All right, that concludes our recognitions tonight. Council, before we, our next item on our agenda is a consent agenda. I do have a comment card on number 9, and I would like to move item number 11 and item number 33 to action, just because there was some further conversation that results in tweaking what was in here originally a little bit. So related to item number 9 is Ken McAllister. Good evening, Ken. You can state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 3 minutes to share your thoughts and concerns on item number 9.
Ken McAllister, 24206 South 124th Street, Chandler, 85249. On the PLT 21-0046 Harris Place, in the preliminary development plan, there's an item number 5. Item number 5 states, the covenants, conditions, restrictions, CCNRs to be filed and recorded with the subdivision shall mandate the installation of a front yard landscaping within 180 days from the date of occupancy, with the homeowners association responsible for monitoring and enforcing this requirement. It is my understanding, Mayor and City Council, that this is a private property issue with front yard being landscaped. It is not a issue that the city can mandate. And I come to that conclusion from other meetings that I've had here in front of City Council, where I've asked for items to be stipulated in the action item to either approve or disapprove. And those stipulations have been pushed back, saying that it could not be added into the CCNRs, and council could not stipulate that that information be added because it is a private property matter. I have been told in an email stated that, and this is coming from the city's law department, that from another development that I've been actively involved in. And at the end of the document, that the email says that tree land, that CCNRs are private contracts between tree land and Tri Point Homes, homeowners, and the HOA. The city and persons not part of tree land and Tri Point Homes development do not have any ability to enforce CCNRs. I also have an email from the planning department that says it is not the city's practice to dictate that statements made by an applicant in an open or in a public hearing be addressed in private development CCNRs. So I would request that in this motion that you're going to talk about tonight, or either approve or disapprove, that item number 5 be taken out of the stipulation for approving or not approving this development plan.
Thank you, Ken. And I believe you meant item number 9, right? Since-
Yes, item number 9, but it's item number 5 in the document
Okay.
of item number 9.
Thank you. City Attorney, can you share, can you address his concerns on item number 9, please?
Yes, Mayor. if
Or
I
speak
may.
to them?
Yes. So Mr. McAllister is absolutely correct. The CCNRs are a private contract between the HOA and the residents who live there. The city can require that the development have CCNRs, and the city can say certain things that should be put in the CCNRs, which is what this is doing. I think the situation that Mr. McAllister was referring to is different. But in the end, even the city does not enforce CCNRs. That is completely enforced within the HOA.
So we've got things in the CCNR that ultimately are there as an initial statement, but once it takes over, they have the ability to enforce or not enforce. Is that what I just heard you say? Or please clarify my confusion.
Yes, Mayor. The city can require that there be CCNRs. They can require that certain provisions be included, certain legal provisions be included through the development process. But at the end of the day, the city does not enforce CCNRs. We just make sure that they are done and include whatever the council directs.
Boy, that's muddy to me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So
Okay, let me back up. Let me simplify it. The city does require, if there is an HOA, that CCNRs, conditions, covenants, and restrictions, be drafted and be applicable to the development. The city can dictate certain things in those CCNRs that are consistent with our codes, that they be included in the CCNRs. But once the CCNRs are done and recorded, the city does not enforce those CCNRs. That is up to the HOA.
So the HOA then has the authority to take these. We require them to have CCNRs, but in terms of the content, that is up to the HOA to develop, alter, or enforce. Is that what I heard you say?
If I may, Mayor, that is correct, with the provision that the city can require certain things to be in the CCNRs, like landscaping. But it wouldn't be up to the city to enforce those provisions.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart, then Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing this forward. And thanks for the clarification. I think I'm going to need a little bit more clarification around this just for now and in the future. And in light of that, maybe we can make a motion. I don't want to hold the applicant up on this particular project. There are homeowners that are chomping at the bit to get in their homes. But maybe we could suspend item number 5 in the PDP part of this proposal until we can all talk about that, and then we'll come back to it and get it fixed.
That is a perfectly acceptable solution, Mayor and Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
I was going to suggest something very similar
Okay.
to move this to let's come back and address this issue at a later time. We have more clarification. But I do want to, Mr. Mayor, Mr. McAllister, what are you trying to get into the CCNRs? And please reiterate that.
So in this particular Harris Place project, I am not trying to add anything to the CCNRs. I'm trying to remove this requirement that the city is requiring that the landscape be put in within 180 days, because there is no city code that says that you have to have a front yard landscaped. So I'm not sure why the city is stipulating that that be a requirement when it's a private property matter.
All right, so let me understand this. You're really concerned about the 180 days requirement that you personally or someone must put this in. That's why I'm asking the question. How does this affect you?
Okay, so this affects me because this is a requirement that the city is mandating be put into the CCNRs when the city has no jurisdiction because it's a private property matter. I'm requesting that this be removed for this development.
Okay, so let me just take it one step further. We have numerous projects in the 22 years I've been here that stipulates you must have 2 trees in a yard, a front yard. You must have grass or not grass. So we've been doing this for a long time. And again, I'm trying to figure out how this affects you because you're just a neighbor. You're not being a part of this organization. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How does this tie back to you? You're not going to be buying a home in here, are you?
I do not know that.
Okay, so then, but you had that opportunity
Yes.
to look at that and say, gee, I don't agree with this.
Okay, so my reason for bringing this forward is from other projects that I have been a part of, that I have been told numerous times that the city cannot mandate private property matters into CCNRs. And I see a mandate for a private property matter being mandated by the city into the CCNRs.
Okay,
I see a discrepancy there.
all right. I think what you're talking about, and let's be blunt here, you're talking about specifically a SRP canal or something that irrigates your adjacent property, correct?
I am talking about a private property matter that I had issues with in another development, which was an irrigation ditch that was put into a pipe, and was told numerous times that that could not be added into the CCNRs for upkeep and maintenance. Yet I'm seeing a discrepancy here with the city mandating that a
Okay.
private property matter
So I tell you what,
be
There's a
issued.
motion. There's a motion
yeah,
on the
so,
floor.
yeah, let's do this. There's not a motion. So let's do this. Let me just take one more second, council member. So there's nothing wrong with me saying that item number 9 here, that you shall have landscaping within 100 days in front of your house. I have to put that in the CCNRs. That's my point I'm trying to make to you.
Sorry?
I could put a motion right now, say item 9, that within 180 days from the date of occupancy, the homeowner shall be responsible for putting a front yard landscaping. It's not in the CCNRs.
No, I understand that
Okay,
that's
all
not in the CCRs, but it's a
I'll tell you
private,
what.
it's a private property matter, and
But you're buying, okay, sir, I'm not getting to argue. You're buying into something. Let's do this. Let's go with the council member's suggestion. Let's leave this stip out for now, and we'll come back and address it. But we could also add a separate stip in here. My point is to you, we can come back here and say, item 9, add landscaping within 180 days of your yard.
So at this point,
Yeah.
Councilmember Stewart, would you like to make a motion? And
Yeah, same motion I made. I'd like to move this item item number 5 in the PDP area to amend the motion on item number, what is it, 9?
9.
Item number 9 to suspend item number 5 in the PDP plat until we get some more clarification around that. And
And we could bring, Mayor, just to clarify, we could bring, I'll second it.
Let's let him continue.
I'll
please,
second
then. Go ahead.
We could bring that back on the final preliminary development, correct?
Vice Mayor, let him continue.
I'm
He
sorry,
wasn't
I
done.
thought he was done.
but the motion's on the floor, and then we
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, is there a second?
Yeah,
Vice Mayor made a second.
Thank you.
So, but we could bring this back on the final preliminary plan, correct? This is just a preliminary PDP.
Mayor,
This is the area plan amendment.
I don't believe we come back for final approval on this, so we wouldn't be addressing it on this issue. Of course, the developer is still free to put the condition in the CCNRs on their own as well.
Okay,
still
McAllister,
could do
thank
it.
you for bringing this forward, though, so we can get some consistency around this issue. I know it's something you've dealt with the county, and so we'll get this dialed in and make sure that we move forward so that it's consistent across the board in city and county. Thank you.
so City Manager, we have a motion and a second on this to amend this to take that particular item off. And as you mentioned, the developer can put that in if so chooses. For clarification, we need to vote on this and then it becomes part of the consent agenda? Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, council all in favor, say aye.
Well,
Aye.
Oh, actually, no. Clerk,
vote.
please take the roll.
We can go ahead and vote electronically. if you
yeah, that's what I thought you could
Yeah.
vote, yeah.
Sorry, I got a little confused in the.
Councilmember Harris?
There.
Councilmember Harris is having difficulty with his signal, so on this one, I don't have a registered vote for him.
Great.
So
Okay.
it carries unanimously, 6-0.
Mayor.
Okay. Next on our agenda, as mentioned, was our consent agenda. I've asked for item number 11 and 33 to move to action. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda,
Mayor.
minus these two?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I move that we approve the consent agenda of September 21st, 2023, regular meetings, items 1 through 59, with the exceptions of items 11 and 33, move to action.
Great.
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilmember Ellis. Any additional questions related to this? Councilmember
Mayor,
Stewart?
if I may, I was going to say this at the end of our meeting, but I think it's pertinent to talk about this now. We have an incredible, let me set up the story here. About a year ago, I got involved with a group called Night of Hope, which is an organization that is involved in stopping human trafficking. And about 2 months ago, we had a meeting with Pastor Mike here. We talked about, what we're going to do moving into this next year and the things that are going to happen to stop human trafficking and especially child crimes in our city. And literally about 2 weeks after that, I hear the news that Julie has appropriated $2 million to our city for this particular need. And it just struck me as like, when you take action and you move forward with things like we did as a council, beautiful things like this happen. So I want to thank you, Julie, for your commitment to this atrocity. Mike, I want to thank you for your commitment to what we're doing here. And I absolutely emphatically want to vote yes on this consent agenda to move this $2.5 million into our general fund so we can start battling like we need to.
Yeah, Mayor.
Thank you.
Vice
Any additional
Mayor.
comments?
Yeah.
Before we go? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, State Representative Willoughby, Julie Willoughby, thank you very much. For a person who's been on the job for about 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 6, we're stretching it. You've given us it was 5 minutes, it seemed like that. Well, you're the most effective freshman I've seen in a long, long time. So thank you very much for that money. It's going to go a long way, in particular in hiring additional bodies to actually look at the exploitation. So thank you very much for your effort there.
Council, please vote.
Councilmember Harris has registered his vote as a yes vote for consent agenda items, and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We move 2 items to action, and they largely are as presented with a bit of a tweak. Councilmember Stewart, item number 11.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to move to approve use permit PLH 22055 Canine Resort, subject to the conditions recommended by Planning and Zoning Commission with the deletion of condition number 5.
Which, just for our audience, state what that is?
That is the
requirement of the applicant to come back after 4 years to go through the whole process again to get their use permit.
Okay.
Ellis, second.
We have a second by Councilmember Ellis. Any further conversation on this? Seeing none, please vote on item number 11. Yeah, mine hasn't reset yet. There we go. Mine just in.
Yes, you're in. Councilmember Harris votes yes on this item as well.
Great. And our other one, again, that there's a slight amendment to what was presented on Monday, item number 33. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 33, I'd like to ask Mayor and Council to pass and adopt Resolution 5723, authorizing the city manager to expand and amend and extend the 5 water conservation rebate programs with the clarification to increase the single-family residential grass removal rebate from 20 cents per square foot to $2 per square foot of grass removed for the maximum rebate of $3,000 for each single-family residential property, and further authorizing the city manager to apply for and accept funds from WIFA related to the 4 water conservation measures. I think it's up to $5.7 million for use for this program over the next 2.5 years.
So we have a motion on the floor. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Poston. And just again for reference, what had been recommended for this was to move from 20 cents, 25 cents, which was it, city manager, initially?
It's 20 cents to $1.
Yeah, 20 cents to 1. We wanted to further incentivize residential turf removal or sod removal, as we were looking at the same for retail and commercial for $3. So this would kind of bring a closer sense of parity.
Okay.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quick question. Do we have, I know when we did this original proposal, we had the funding for this. I guess the only caution I would give us is, and I'm for this, by the way, is that if we're starting to cap out or something, come back to us. Because I know when we did the initial calculation of 20 cents, we expected X amount of the property, the residential owners to apply for this. Now we may have less. So let us know if we need to increase this funding during the year.
Yeah, Mayor, Vice Mayor, if we start to run up against that limit, then we'll come back and revisit with you for direction.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Great. So we've got a motion and a second. Any further comments? Seeing none, please vote on item number 33.
Councilmember Harris registered her vote as a yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, item number 7, a public hearing on our biennial impact fee audit. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd like to introduce Ryan Fielder to give this presentation.
Alrighty. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Ryan Fielder, and I'm the city's Budget and Research Administrator. And I'm here tonight to share the results of the city's most recent System Development Fee Biennial Audit. Cities that collect system development fees or impact fees are bound by state statute. One of those requirements is that you either form an advisory committee or you conduct a biennial audit. And the city of Chandler, along with all the other cities in the state of Arizona, have conducted a biennial audit. Our most recent biennial audit was completed by Heinfeld and Meach, and it covered fiscal years 2020-21 and 2021-22. Some of the procedures that were completed during the biennial audit include comparing the growth projections that were originally adopted during the 2019 timeframe when we adopted the land use assumptions in the infrastructure improvement plan then, and comparing those to what has occurred today. And they compare those for reasonableness. They also review the progress of our IIP projects, and they review the revenues into the impact fee funds and the expenditures out of those same funds. So the results of the audit include a sampling of 80 permits that were tested, and one of those permits was found to have used an incorrect land use classification. And that resulted in a refund to the developer, which has occurred. There was no inequities reported between the land use classifications. The biennial audit requirement has been met under state statute, and there's no formal action required by council this evening. This is a public hearing only.
All right.
Couple-
Thank you very much. Council, any questions?
2 more slides.
Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
Mr. Mayor.
When you said no more, I already moved on.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't have to do anything. Just listen, just for 2 more slides. Okay, I'll go quick. So state statute requirements for impact fees. One of the requirements is that we file an annual report, and cities that collect impact fees are required to do that within 90 days of the fiscal year end. And the city of Chandler posted their annual report on the city's website on September 12th. We're also required to complete a biennial audit and hold a public hearing, and that requirement is being met this evening. And then there's the system development fee update, which is currently in progress. The city engaged a consultant who's completed that, and we now have a draft public report will be available on the city's website tomorrow. That needed to be posted 60 days prior to the initial public hearing for the LUA and the IIP, which is scheduled for December 7th. Concurrently, we have a meeting scheduled with the development community and other stakeholders involved in this process, and that's scheduled for October 11th. And we also have a work study session scheduled with council for early November. And so walking through this system development fee update process, the times that we will be back in front of council, as noted previously, December 7th, we'll be back for the initial public hearing of the LUA and the IIP. On January 11th, we will be back to adopt the LUA and the IIP, and by state law, we actually need to do that by January 24th. That same evening, we will be back, or we will be adopting a motion of intent to modify the impact fees. And then after we do that, the impact fees themselves walk through a similar process as the LUA and the IIP, where there's a public hearing, and then there's ordinances that will be adopted along the way so that you can implement the new fees. And we anticipate those fees going live August 1st of 2024. So it's a lengthy process to walk through this. So just to remind council, there's no formal action required this evening. This was just a public hearing only, and that concludes our presentation. If there's any questions.
Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Couple of things real quick. Thank you very much for the update. I noticed you took 80 assets. What was the pool? What was the general pool you took out of that 80 assets?
Oh, all permits.
Yeah.
All permits pulled over that 2-year period. And I don't have that number with me this evening.
So is 80, I guess my question is 80 a scientific sample? I'm trying to figure out if that was a good sample, or is that something, it's a metric you use or a set formula or something like that?
Right. Mayor, council member. So it's auditing, how auditors do that, the techniques they use. They're going to look at the total pool of the number of pit permits that are available,
Okay.
and then they're going to use their techniques that they use to pull a sample of that, and then they test that sample. I don't know what the total number of permits that were pulled over that
All right.
2-year window was, but it far exceeded the 80 for sure.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
The other question is, since we did the last update, were there any legislative changes that we need to be aware of now?
Mayor, council member, there are no legislative changes that have occurred in the last 2 years, no.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next on our agenda, item number 60 is a briefing requested by Councilmember Stewart related to community outreach navigators and our homelessness programs. Ryan Balch.
Good evening, everyone. All righty, so good evening, Mayor and Council.
Mayor, if I may, I hate to interrupt, I apologize. That was a public hearing, and we realized you didn't close the public hearing and make sure that no one was there to speak on the last item, so I
All right,
apologize.
thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Is there anyone here that would like to address comments related to the public hearing so presented? Seeing no, I'd like to close the public hearing. Thank you, City Attorney. Please proceed, Ryan.
Thanks. Don't want to mess that up. All right. So good evening. Thanks for allowing me the time to provide an update tonight. As you know, homelessness is a growing concern in our state and nation, and so I'm really happy to provide a little report on what Chandler is doing, and with great success. Work this thing. So this is a little bit of a new look at data for you. This is what we call systems flow data, and it comes from our homeless management information system, where everybody in the region that provides homeless services contributes to this system. So as you can see, there were about an average of 5,800 people on any day in Maricopa County experiencing homelessness. So this is very different than our point in time data, which just shows us one given day in a year. This system allows us to see how many people are actively using homeless services in our county every single day. So in FY 22-23, we had over 5,800, an average of 5,800 people using our services each day. That green line at the bottom is for Chandler. So in our system, in our programs, we had about an average of 304 people a day utilizing our homeless services. And that was in last fiscal year. The next slide, this is your typical point in time data that you guys are very used to seeing. And I just wanted to show it to you because you're familiar with it. And you can see it's a little bit less than what we see from our systems flow dashboard. It still shows the trend that homelessness is slowly increasing over the years, but it's a little bit lower than we've been counting a little bit lower than now our systems flow data is showing us. So over the next couple of slides, I'm going to talk specifically about City of Chandler programs, but I wanted to provide you, oh, I must have missed one. Sorry about that. I wanted to provide you a picture of what our continuum of homeless services looks like here in our city. So the colorful boxes portray sort of the journey or path that somebody might take towards their journey out of homelessness. And we have each of those components here in our community. We have each of those housing interventions. But what I might point out to you is that piece on top that talks about the essential services that our staff are providing to people as they go through these different housing interventions. And that is the navigation and crisis services that we're going to talk about today through our community navigators. They're providing crisis services out on the street, building trust. Once you engage in someone in services, then comes the really intensive case management and trying to assess their situation and develop a case plan. That's very intensive, requires a lot of touches. Once somebody enters into a housing program, then you really have them right there with you, right? And you can start to focus on what issues brought them there and then work on building a foundation for stability moving forward. And then once they have some stability and you're going to potentially walk away from them while they're in stable housing, you want to build a community of support around them. You want them to be integrated into their community. You want them to be part of maybe their faith network, their recreational network. You want them to have stable health care and behavioral health care before you leave them. So this is sort of our cycle of homeless services. This is our great and mighty community navigation team, led by Misty Gustafson, who I know you all know and admire, and many of you have taken the time to do a ride along. So thank you for doing that, because there's nothing like seeing this work in action. So I appreciate that. This service, our community navigator service, is available 7 days a week. We operate from 6 in the morning until 7:30 at night. It looks different day to day, depending on if it's a weekday or a weekend. We have different activities. And that team together does 3 things. They do the outreach on the streets, making relationships, building rapport, getting people into very basic services, meeting their emergency crisis needs. They also operate the non-congregate shelter program, which we call Operation Open Door, and that is providing via a hotel room shelter to specifically vulnerable people. And they also staff the support court, which helps people experiencing homelessness get through their justice issues. Ultimately, the goal is always housing, so they're making connections to services and housing, and they all have professional credentials, including they're all behavioral health technicians, and they're all certified peer specialists. So this is our Chandler Connect program. That's actually the official name for our outreach program. We don't use the name very often, but it's Chandler Connect. And this is where they're out on the streets. You might see them out there in their trucks looking for people experiencing homelessness each day. Last year, we were able to serve 621 households. That included 717 persons. And just from the street alone, we had 75% positive outcomes, which are very, very narrowly defined by HUD. So you can see we had about, let's see, I put my notes down. So we have about 43% of people went to emergency shelter straight from the streets, and we had 13% go straight to permanent housing from the streets. Also notable is that 11% went into institutional settings, and that's usually substance use treatment or a behavioral health setting or facility. So getting people who are living on the streets into those scenarios is a great thing. The other, that 25%, could be we've lost touch with them, and it's also death. Death is seen as a negative outcome by HUD, and we also see it as a negative outcome, of course. And then 8% were diverted to their natural support systems, which could be family and friends in other states. That's generally what it is. For Operation Open Door, that's the official name of our non-congregate shelter program. We were able to serve last year 151 households, and that included 306 persons. And that's because we have a lot of families in that program. That program, in addition to serving very vulnerable people who just cannot live on the street or cannot live in a congregate setting because they have medical issues, need to store medication, can't get up and down from a floor where they might be able to stay at in the iHelp program, things like that. That program also serves as a holding spot or a bridge for families, because the family shelter list in our region is always about 6 to 12 weeks long. I checked today just to see it's about 8 weeks long tonight. So we don't want a family on the street for one night, right? A family with children, let alone 8 weeks. So we often have families in our non-congregate shelter program. In that program, in the last year, we had 94% positive outcomes. And that's because with this model, when you have people available to you, they're getting good sleep, they're able to have a home base from which to work from, you get better outcomes. So we're very proud of the non-congregate shelter program. And then we have another team that you might not know as much about. This is our housing stability team. And this is the team that really follows up once we get people on the street to help people find their housing and stay in their housing. And that's no easy task. So these guys are responsible for engaging landlords, recruiting them, educating them about our programs, helping them work with our population. They help the people who are going to be moving into housing locate that housing, build a relationship with a landlord because they do end up having their own lease, and finding that housing. And then they help them with move-in. It could be the physical move-in, like logistically moving in, and also finding them furniture and all the things they need to live in housing. And then the real work begins, and that is keeping them in their housing. So now we are addressing all the barriers they came with, whether it be behavioral health, regular health, all of those things, justice issues, all of those things. And then eventually we want to turn them out of our services, right, and leave them stably housed in our community. And so that takes connecting them with their community. So community integration, whether it be with their, faith houses, with recreational activities, with groups that make sense to them, so that they have their own support network in the community. So in that program, and that program very specifically supports our internal Chandler program. So we have our tenant-based rental assistance program, which houses 25 people for up to 2 years at all times. We have our emergency housing voucher program, and that we're at about 34 chronically homeless people now in housing through that program. And then we also have just our regular housing choice voucher tenants, or as you might know it as Section 8. A lot of those tenants were coming from homelessness or were very precariously housed and also need supports to maintain their housing. So this team is then providing that ongoing case management to them to keep them housed. Or when something bubbles up and a resident in our community is about to become unhoused, they will jump in and try to divert that crisis and keep them housed. In that program, we had 97% positive outcomes in the last year. And then we also, as you know, we had heat relief, very robust heat relief services last year. We were fortunate to get a grant from the county. And we did a competitive RFP, and we contracted with 2 providers, Resurrection Street Ministries and the Chandler Salvation Army. And that we did that for both Mesa and Chandler. It was a partnership, and each city had a day respite center, 10 cooling stations, mobile services, showers, and laundry and meals. In our city, So far, we're not done. We're going to operate through the end of September. We've served 411 unduplicated individuals, and those folks have come to the Day Respite Center over 2,900 times. So it's been highly utilized, and we hope to have prevented a lot of illness and death. We're already talking with our partners about this for next year because we do anticipate a record number of homeless fatalities this year in our region. And then last but not least, we have our Change Up campaign, and this is a public education campaign to make Chandler residents aware that there's a better way to give than giving out that dollar out your car window to somebody who is panhandling. And that is because the average lifespan for somebody who's living on the street is anywhere between, I think it's 42 and 52, right in there. So that is not long. We don't want people living on our streets any longer than humanly possible. So the campaign teaches people that you can text to donate. This is a partnership with For Our City Chandler, and those dollars will still contribute to ending homelessness, but they will go through our navigators and help our navigators engage. So it might be, can I buy you lunch? It might be, it could be a million things, and that money has been really helpful. Since we installed our new signage this last year, we have 14 ADOT signs up at all time, and we have about 47 new change up signs in our community. We've already raised the most we ever have, over $12,000 in the first 6 months of this year. So I think our high last year was just over 10,000, and this year in the first 6 months we've already raised 12,000. So that, yes, so that has been a huge benefit, and we're very grateful for that. And I think that is it. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, starting with Councilmember Stewart?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the great presentation. You know, we did this about a year ago, and I remember that we were seeing the numbers start to plateau. We're starting to see them flatten out. So the efforts that are being put forth in Maricopa County, but especially here in Chandler, are being noticed. Like, I just did a quick count. You've served 1,500 people minimum within the city in the last year. And the one thing that I noticed, that 3 people a day were being helped into housing. That's remarkable. And so I want to thank you for doing that. And you know, I just had a question for you. Maybe you'll have to get back to me because I'm going to put you on the spot. But what's gonna flatten it and make it go down? Like, when can we start looking for people on your team and repositioning them in different departments
Yeah.
in our city, right?
Right. Wouldn't we love to do that?
Because the work that they're doing is amazing.
More housing stock, and more support services to keep people in the housing that they're already in, and more behavioral health services.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks so much.
Additional comments from council? Councilmember Ellis?
I think Vice Mayor first.
That's fine.
Go ahead, Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Ryan. This is amazing news for us here. And the fact that we are putting so much into getting people off the street tells us that we're a community that cares about each other. And that's important for us to keep that message going out, that we don't want someone to spend the night on the street another night. When I first came here 3 years ago, that was a priority. And I'm sitting here so proud and thankful and grateful that you guys have taken the charge from mayor and council and run with it. In every area, you just keep championing this thing and taking it to the next level. At this time where I am, as far as being on MAG, on that board, replacing Councilmember Stewart, I think that's going to be the place where we're going to be pushing a lot of advocacy for the Team Chandler. And thank you so much for putting so much into this. My question is that with numbers like 93% of success, 97% of success, are you receiving the support that you mentioned earlier here from us, or enough from the community itself to keep getting to the place that you just described? I know housing is really an issue right now, but the other two, mental health and the support for the wraparound services, are you receiving enough support to make sure that we push in those areas?
Thank you. Through the mayor, Councilwoman Ellis. I'm receiving incredible amount of support. As you know, in the last budget cycle, you were extremely gracious to provide us 2 permanent navigators. That is an immense help. They're all temporary, so they are thrilled to have that level of support. We've also been very successful in getting grants in our community in the last year. We've pulled in a lot of dollars, and a lot of that is because you are so willing to support our efforts and champion our efforts. So yes, I feel extremely supported, and our entire team feels extremely supported. And the love that you guys give them on a daily basis. I mean, if you've ever been through our office, your pictures with them are everywhere. It's their
That's
pride
good.
and joy. They're very, we have a lot of pride. We're doing a lot of great things. The opioid stuff coming up,
Yes.
your support in those efforts is fantastic. So yes, we feel very supported and very blessed to do this work.
And if we could pass on the message to our House representative that is in the House right now, these are the places where we need your voice the strongest in legislatures for us to be able to continue doing this kind of work that we're doing here in Chandler. So thank you so much for listening.
Additional comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Representative Willoughby, you got an action item now. You thought you were coming here to say thank you, and you got an action item. We appreciate you both sides of that. Hey, I've been reading where one of the highest population of homelessness is seniors. Are we seeing that too here?
Yes, through the mayor, vice mayor, absolutely. We are struggling with it. I've actually recently been reaching out to APS, all of the entities you can possibly think of. We are having people who we're finding in their vehicles who have just their income's not keeping up with the rental increases, and we're finding a big dementia issue. So ASU has just finished a pilot study of dementia in the homeless population, and we're finding big numbers. And we just have an issue. I'll just as an anecdote, we actually have a situation right now where we have a older person in our non-congregate shelter program who has dementia, and she keeps wandering out. And so we've reached out to every entity. She's not safe here. We need a higher level of support, and we're not able to get that. And so I have reached out to the county. The county is scheduling some meetings with the state. We'll see if we can get anywhere there, but we really need advocacy about safe places for seniors, particularly with dementia, to have not only shelter, but where are they going to go after that, and what level of support are they going to get? And yes, our population is aging, and it's a big challenge.
All right, so I guess my takeaway is, yes, it's true. And number two, as you do this due diligence, whether it's on the committees, I hope you're doing a better job than he did.
No,
No, no, I'm just kidding. Mark did a great job. Mark did a
I'm
great
gonna
job.
keep building on
He
that.
chaired it.
Be a little bit more aggressive.
He chaired it, I believe. So, seriously, let us know if you got thoughts on
Yeah.
in mid-year or whatever case may be, if there's something we need to do from our standpoint to help the resources for that. Okay.
Will do. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Bye.
Mayor.
Councilman Morales.
One of the things that I know that we have been advocating for with the state is to find a way to partner with the assisted living world so that we will be able to place those elderly people that have dementia, or whether the whole point was the fact that about 2020 we were supposed to have all our elderly people off the street, and here we are, we're still discussing that. And it's the link that's missing is those contract with those assisted livings, specifically the assisted living homes, where they will be willing to take these people if they can have payment for them for their long-term care.
I am open to every option.
All right.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Our next item is unscheduled public appearances, but before we do that, City Manager, I do notice we've got some new visitors that are here before. I've got one speaker card, so one person will be coming forward to speak, but can you, again, give a summary? The conversation of the speaker card is related to dogs. Can you, again, give us a summary before I invite the one person to come up?
Yeah, certainly, Mayor. As we heard earlier tonight from Assistant Chief Raymer, the city police department has been intimately involved in this issue since September 8th. We've had several touch points with the property as well as the ownership of that shelter. And we are working very closely with the Arizona Humane Society as our experts in caring for these animals to make sure that the proper care is given to them and that if necessary, the proper homes are found for those animals. So that will continue. And we are continuing to work with them. Again, even through this weekend, there's some scheduled veterinary care that's planned.
Okay. Thank you so much. Under unscheduled public appearances, I've got one speaker card, Coco Garcia. Coco, you're welcome to come up. Ms. Garcia, you've got up to 3 minutes to share your thoughts and concerns. As this is an unscheduled public appearance, we're not able to engage with you or answer any questions that you might have, although staff is more than able and willing to do so. So if you'd state your name and address for the record.
My name's Coco Garcia, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Thank you for having us. And to follow up with what was said from the previous officer and what you guys have said, that there is involvement with the house that you're talking about. This woman has over 40 dogs at her house. We have collectively counted over 63 dogs that she has in her care that she has acquired since January. She is posing as a rescue. She is taking everyone's money that wants to help, and she is not providing vet care. We know from people that have talked to her today that the Humane Society was there. We've all been there. We've all seen. I got in trouble for trespassing because she has one of my dogs and I asked for it back illegally. Illegally has my dog. And she won't give it back. We have contacted the police. We've contacted Humane Society. And today she told us that the Humane Society did give her an outline that she had to follow, that she needed to get vet care for these dogs. And she did not follow the rules. And she said, I got in a lot of trouble for that. And there are still over 63 dogs at that house. There have been video recordings. These are not just dogs. These are dogs that are paralyzed. These are dogs that are blind. These are dogs that can't fend for themselves if they wanted to. And there are recordings of outsiders, of passerbys, of neighbors that have recorded these dogs dragging themselves through the 115-degree weather in her filth-riddled backyard. It's an atrocity. It's something like I've never seen. And we for some reason, cannot get the Humane Society or law enforcement to push for heavier action. I was told by the supervisor of the Humane Society that they cannot do anything because per Chandler, that Chandler does not recognize hoarding as any kind of losing the crime. Thank you. And they also don't recognize failure to provide care as any kind of crime towards dogs. We've spoke with 2 attorneys. We've retained an attorney today because we are all fighting to get our dogs back. There are over 30 rescues nationwide and out of country that have sent dogs to this woman. She lied to us. She scammed us. Very well. We are very upstanding rescues. We do hundreds of thousands of dollars of free work every month for this community. And she scammed all of us. And we have our attorney told us today that this is a state level, that maybe at Chandler level that they don't recognize hoarding, but at a state level you do. You do recognize hoarding. You do recognize failure to provide care. You do recognize animal abuse. And that's why we're here. We have asked and repeatedly asked, and when we couldn't get answers from anybody, I went to social media. And I don't want to be there. I know nobody wants to be in the limelight with this. I don't. I'm humiliated. I sent one of my dogs to this woman. This is my entire life. I have given my life to these animals. It's horrible. But we are asking for help. We are asking for those dogs to be seized, not one by one. They're medical. They're dying. We have reports of 2 dogs that have died on her property. We know. She told us. And she has told us she has never adopted out one of those dogs. She is violating everything that a nonprofit stands for.
Ms. Garcia, can you wrap up your time?
We are asking that there be active movement, not 2 or 3 dogs removed from this property. All of them. The woman is unwell. She has got police records that you wouldn't believe. We need help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. City manager, could you, again, whatever whatever further conversations, can you ensure that those happen?
Certainly, Mayor.
Thank you.
And Mayor, real quick, City Manager, can we also take a look at, we could adopt our own ordinance in the future to make our lives a little bit easier? Hoarding and failure to provide care, things like that, something that we could take a look. Sure there's models around here in the community, so let's bring that back. So help our police officers better serve this.
We
Okay.
can, Mayor and Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda tonight is current events, and I'll start and we'll continue. September 24th, this Sunday at 11 a.m., we're resuming our downtown Chandler Art Walks. Thank you, Council, for funding that. It'll be at 11 a.m. on Sundays coming up downtown. For more information, visit downtownchandler.org. Next Tuesday, September 26th at 10 a.m., we have our annual Domestic Violence Awareness Breakfast. It'll be, to register or attend this, it'll be on eventbrite.com. Again, the date is September 26th at 10 a.m. I am excited to join council in celebrating our neighborhoods at the October 14th GAIN event from 3 to 8 p.m. And those who are interested in neighborhoods to learn more about this, visit chandleraz.gov/GAIN for more information. And finally, Shields is going to be holding its grand opening of its first Arizona store at the Chandler Fashion Center on September 30th at 9:30 a.m. It'll be an exciting event for Chandler and the greater Phoenix, as well as all of Arizona community. So excited about that. Councilmember Encinas.
Thank you, Mayor. For my announcements tonight, I just wanted to highlight the hard work of our staff on kicking off another successful Chandler Contigo season. Again, we kicked off this weekend on Saturday at the Chandler Public Library here in downtown. Thank you to my fellow council members that were able to attend in the morning and help set that off. We had over 2,300 people attend that throughout the hours that we were there. It was great to see a lot of students there from the high schools that were doing different demonstrations and working with the kids. So it was great to see that kick off. And also I want to send a thank you to our partners at Cox Communications. I was honored as one of the honorees for the Hispanic Heritage Month at Chase Field. So I was able to take my parents out on the fields and have a great experience with them. So I want to thank them for that. And also on the same light for the Contigo events, if you guys are still available, the next coming weeks, there's a ton of events still going on all through, I believe, through October 15th or so. So for more information, visit chandleraz.gov/Contigo. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
It was a lot of fun, lots of fun. Well, Mayor, thank you for mentioning about the breakfast for domestic violence and the commission that is putting that. Domestic violence, truly, it's something that none of us really want to see in our community. And we want to work really hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. And one of the things we're going to do for the month of October, which is the 2nd of October at 6 p.m., we are going to have a vigil where we here at the chamber, where we're going to have it light up in purple. And all of us will be here recognizing the fact that we are working together to end this domestic violence wherever we can and however we can. We're going to all work together for that. At the level of MAG, since I sit on that board, the Tolleson Vice Mayor, Lupe Benden, she serves with me on that board, and we have a subcommittee that we work on, which is to educate and try to get more and more people to get involved into those areas also, not only to help with that, but also to go in those fields, because we're lacking in those areas of people entering, whether it's kids from school or at the level of college. So we really want to put the message out that it's together, when we work together, that we'll be able to make a dent into this thing and get rid of it in our communities. So we're looking forward to have you on October 2nd at 6 p.m. Please join us here in our chamber, and we will be right there in the courtyard having a good time and talking about awareness and what next we're going to be doing in our community for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess, did you throw out the first pitch?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, let us know, man. You get the. All right. Well, I would show up for that game to say first pitch. Mayor, I just want to give you thanks. I know I don't do this often, at least publicly, because I don't want to overemphasize or make it more like a platitude. But thank you very much for this last week in dealing with this issue with the animals, and as well as this council meeting. It showed true leadership, and you're working with staff and the police department to get to the bottom of this. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. Nothing for me tonight.
Councilmember Poston.
Nothing
last
for me
but
tonight,
best.
Mayor. Thank you.
All right. City manager already shared. So,
Yes, can I have one more second, Mayor?
Uh,
Just a quick follow-up, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Encinas, for speaking about Contigo over the weekend. That's one of our major events from our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office. And I did want to just mention that our leader of that office, Nikki Tapia, was recognized this week with a Top Latino Leader Award by the Council for Latino Workplace Equity, which is part of the National Diversity Council. She was one of only 25 honored with that recognition across the entire country. So just wanted to give her a shout out and thank her for the work that she and her team do.
all
Thank
right,
you, Mayor.
with that concludes our meeting. Have a good night.
No, squirrel, you did a good job.
I didn't feel a good job today.